This is the Hollywood Outsider. I am your host, Aaron Peterson. With me today are my co-hosts, Justin McCumber.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Welcome back from the boat.
Thank you.
Brian, we did miss you last week, by the way. So,
I know you did.
Just so you know, it's on record. Brian Williams.
Good morning.
Good. It's not at a morning at all.
Where the fuck are you?
Are you in Japan? And Scott Clark is joining us in studio.
Bitches be crazy.
And that is his element of Christmas joy. So,
Merry fucking Christmas.
Yeah. So, Justin, you weren't here last week. We did miss you, but we had a great episode. So please feel free to listen to last week's episode. But what were you doing?
I already listened to the episode yesterday. I went on a cruise with my wife. We left on a Sunday, came back the following Sunday, and just cruised around the Caribbean. Mostly just hung out on deck with my iPad, reading book after book after book. I read 6 books over those 7 days we were out sailing. It was nice. Stopped off at Key West, Freeport, Bahamas, and then Nassau, Bahamas.
So you did everything. We had snow, by the way, here. So we thought of you.
It was nice. It was sunny, breezy, warm. And then when we pulled in the dock on Sunday at Galveston, I was like, oh, shit. Where are my sweatpants? Got too used to it. But I do have to say real quick. Last week you guys had your brother on. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about Battle Royale. Yes. And how a lot of people are comparing it to, or not comparing it so much, but they'll reference it when talking about the Hunger Games.
Yes.
And the Hunger Games, I actually read all 3 Hunger Games books while on vacation. And it is funny. I had heard of Battle Royale, had never really looked into it. But when he described it, I can definitely understand why people would make some of those comparisons, because there are similarities, but there are also a lot of differences. So I would never be one to say that it's any kind of a direct copy because of those differences, but there's enough room there for people to say, yeah, there's a little maybe borrowing going on. I'd be curious to know when Battle Royale came out. I'm assuming it came out before the Hunger Games.
I think it did, yeah. But
if anybody was influenced, it would have been Suzanne Collins, but I don't know how familiar she is. I actually haven't looked into that.
I am curious about that. Well,
it's a good series of books, so I really, really enjoyed them, so I can't wait to see how they adapt those into film.
Yeah, that'll be a fun show when that comes out. We can talk about it. Well, what you haven't gathered so far is we are a movie and TV show podcast.
It's in the book.
It's not a Justin's Vacation podcast, although it was very nice to hear about it, and we're glad you're back. What we talk about every week are the newest in movie and TV news. We're going to review any new or upcoming Blu-ray DVD releases. This week we're going to review Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows, as well as Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. Scott and I went and saw that last night, so that'll be interesting to hear what we think. I think it'll be interesting. I hope you do. Each week we bring up a new topic that's catching ours or our listeners' attention. This week, nominations that are going on, and everything is getting nominated for something except the cool shit. We are going to kind of go over what categories are sorely lacking from the elite nominations, like the Oscars, Golden Globes, things like that. We'll get into that a little later. We also have our own little mini trivia game called Stump the Hoe. Hoes being Hollywood Outsider, not actual prostitutes. And Scott will grace us with a flashback DVD this week. It's a little known or obscure film that hopefully he can enlighten you with. So with that, let's get on to the show so I can stop stuttering over myself. Let's start with movie news.
It's so entertaining.
Yes, it is. It's entertaining hearing me sound like a babbling idiot.
Remember that what was that movie with Ben Stiller where he played the little video of the guy? You're my best friend.
Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
Don't go full retard.
Simple Jack.
Simple Jack. You never go full retard, man.
You make me happy.
Fuck all of you. All right, let's start with movie news. As you guys know, we are going to talk a little bit more about it later on. But The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo came out, and they are talking about doing the sequels. If this film's successful, the American version, doing the sequels, and Fincher says he will direct it and he will film them back to back because he feels it's really one story that should be split into 2 films. I'm fine with this. I think there's very few directors that can pull this kind of thing off. He's probably one of them. Are you guys excited about that, or do you not really care? Would you prefer that they separated like a year or two apart?
I actually am a fan of this. I hope that this starts a trend a little bit, because with so many of the movies that are taking the last movie of the series and splitting it a single movie into two, or a single book into two movies, I like the idea of taking two books and putting it into one instead of cashing in on it. I think from an artistic standpoint, it'll make it more interesting.
They're not making one movie. It's two movies.
Well, okay, yeah, you're right.
They're filming both movies at the same time.
Right, like
think-
Lord of the Rings style.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I think, when you have a property like this where you're going to be making 3-4 books, whatever the number is, it just makes sense. You keep all the actors in their character, and just you get it done as quick as possible, and you can release them whenever you like. So,
What do you think, Justin? You were starting to say something.
Well, this it can also be gone into a little bit in the next piece of news you're going to be talking about, but also relates back to what you guys were talking about last week with when Lord of the Rings, when Peter Jackson filmed all three movies back to back, what kind of impact has it had on the industry? And what I think it helped do is prove that filming, even though it's a gamble, that you are going to be filming movies that may not earn their money back because the first one tanks. What you get from it, though, is the fact that you're going to save some money on, you're not going to be striking sets and then having to rebuild them. You're not going to have to mothball costumes and then, create whole new ones. You're not going to have the problem of actors having to get back into character. For the gamble, there's also some benefits in filming these movies back to back. I think it keeps things so much fresher for everybody. It cuts down costs. And I think that what it does is it shows a belief in the product that movies where the studios are so hesitant, you almost feel like as a viewer, well, should I have any faith? Should I go watch this? Because they don't seem to have any. But when you film them back to back, it kind of tells your audience, yes, we believe in this. We think it's great. And we're so convinced of that, we're going to film more of them. And I think that proves to be a successful way of doing it. Lord of the Rings, Matrix, these movies I'm sure will be the same way. Pirates of the Caribbean did it. I wish more studios would do it. And I love the idea of only separating sequels out by, say, 6 months, 9 months, as opposed to 2 years.
I agree with that. And I think the way that the system is set up now, really, when you go longer than 2 years, people start to lose track. Where sequels used to be 3, 4, 5 years between each other? I don't think that can happen anymore. I think ADD is set in and people just can't do it anymore. So, speaking of sequels that have run their course, there's a lot of them coming down the pike. Daniel Craig is in talks to sign for 5, count them, 5 more James Bond flicks after the one he's filming now. So that'll be 8 total. I love Daniel Craig as James Bond, but I'm doing the math, and if that's 2 years apiece, that's 10 years down the road, he's done. He's going to be like Roger Moore age.
Yeah, but Roger Moore did 7 Bond films, and they were about 2 or so years apart. So it's not unheard of.
It's not unheard of, but do you think it's a little too much? Like maybe they should do it a couple films at a time, just to see if maybe he gets a little long in the tooth in a couple films down the road.
Well, from what I understood, it was a producer that was saying if he had his way, he would keep Daniel Craig around for 5 more films. I didn't get that Daniel Craig was actually in discussions for it, but I'm fine with him. I mean, he's young enough; he could pull it off for the next 10 to maybe 15 years if you got another little break in there.
Yeah, I think he is 45 or so, something like that. 40, 45. I can't remember exactly how old.
I think Roger Moore was 87 when he quit.
Pierce Brosnan was a bit older. Yeah, I like that what they're doing now is creating a stronger central narrative, whereas the other Bond films have always seemed just independent of each other, very little crossover amongst them. These seem to be developing a stronger story, and if they're going to keep doing that, then yeah, I'd like to see them filming them pretty close together and doing more of them.
I agree with Justin. One of the things with the Bond movies is everybody has their favorite Bond. Our parents are always telling us that Sean Connery was the best Bond because that's one that they were most comfortable with, that they saw the most for me, I always liked
Timothy Dalton.
I always liked Pierce Brosnan because that's the first Bond movie I ever saw was GoldenEye. And then I never thought I'd ever like another Bond better than Pierce Brosnan. But Daniel Craig, man, he's just really cool. I really like seeing him on screen. And like Justin said, if you're going to have more crossover between the movies, I like seeing the same guy in there in the same role. I'd like to see him do more than Roger Moore did.
I'd like to see it shook up. I like every 3-4 movies there's a new Bond because that's what I like about the series.
Well, you got to look at the series has gone a little bit different route than it did. I mean, back in even the Pierce Brosnan days, it was those movies were goofy. I mean, they were just basically just a.
Dude, did you see any of the Roger Moore movies?
No, no.
Okay, then they were all like that.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. It's going a different direction. Like,
trust me, if you saw the Roger Moore ones, then you go watch the Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan looks like the Daniel Craig ones. Like Pierce Brosnan got all badass.
oh, okay.
Trust me, it was almost like a dark version of the Roger Moore ones.
Moonraker is a bit on the sillier side.
Yes,
I know. I see what Scott's saying, and I agree with him too.
Absolutely. Well, it's also in sequel news because Vin Diesel apparently all he does anymore is make sequels. And he confirmed that Fast 6 and 7 are both in the works, and he would like them filmed back-to-back if he has his way, because he feels like it's going to be like one story. Now, I remember when he came back to do Fast and Furious, or whatever
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Whatever the fuck it was, the last one, the one before the most recent one. And
Fast
he said,
and Furious.
Thank you. He said he would only do 3 movies. He said, I'll come back, I'll do 3 movies, I want to tell his story and I'm out. Now, of course, because this is all he needs to do anymore, he's going to do this one. We'll do one more because it's such a deep story. We've got so many characters, it's so deep. And while I really like Fast 5, at some point I would like an end game. I don't know. I don't.
Not fast enough.
That's last fast.
Last Fast.
Yeah, last fast. That's good.
And the L is a 7.
Oh, that would be
Right.
sweet. We'll see. Well, that's bound to happen. So if you guys are big Fast and Furious fans, be ready. You're gonna see a couple more of them.
I finally saw Fast 5 over the weekend.
How hard did it rock?
It was pretty fun. That last sequence on the bridge was just so much fun. It was
The whole
awesome.
movie was ridiculously fun. The fight between him and The Rock,
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
they actually looked like they were fighting. Badass. And Tom Cruise is talking, and this I'll spend very little time on, but Tom Cruise is looking at doing a Top Gun 2. I don't think it'll actually happen because I think it would be very bad for his career.
Why?
Man,
Because it was such an 80s movie. Maybe if he came back and he's like the instructor and maybe he finds himself a young Kelly McGillis, or,
Ooh,
it
have you
goes,
seen her lately?
it goes a young version of her, like they flip the
Time
script
was not
and
good to
he's
her.
the instructor and then there's a young girl pilot. I don't know, something like that. Make it modern times.
I don't know. I'm excited about that idea.
Yeah, I know.
When's the last time we had a good dogfight movie?
When's the last time I needed one?
Did you
I
hate
need
Top
one
Gun
every
or what?
day.
No, I like Top Gun, but it's such a product. That is a total 80s movie. What are they gonna redo the volleyball scene too, just to make
I hope
to
so.
update it with more sweaty guys?
Yeah.
Your lips to God's ears.
Justin, you want to see this too?
Fuck yes. Especially if Tony Scott is going to be directing it.
Oh my god, it's a bunch of old people
You got
trying to be cool.
You got Christopher McQuarrie. Apparently he's on board with writing the script. He wrote The Usual Suspects. I mean, he's got some pretty good clout.
And dude, Mission Impossible is from the 80s. And
Does that mean at the end, like Maverick wasn't really Tom Cruise the whole time? Is that what the end's going to be?
he
Exactly.
was Kaiser Soze?
He was.
Or wait, Kaiser Soze. I said
Kaiser
that wrong.
Soze, their
Yeah.
dyslexic boy.
Jesus. All right.
Yeah, I'm all for it, especially if they're going to try and keep these characters current. Of course, make Tom Cruise's character. If he's not an instructor, then he's got to be fucking captain of the ship at this point, or the commander air group. Yeah, sure, shit. Throw on some Kenny Loggins, get those aircraft carriers moving. I will be ass in seat.
All right. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but the Golden Globe nominations came out. We're going to talk a little bit more about nomination stuff later, but just so you guys know what the nominations were. Now, the Golden Globes is not like the Oscars. They separate things into 2 categories, drama and comedy. I'm not going to go over all the actors because, I really don't think they put a whole lot of oomph into them. The votes are actually, or the nominations are actually decided by 95 people. So it's not like the Academy where it's thousands of people that vote on this. It's actually a very small group. But the nominations for Best Drama were The Descendants, The Help, Hugo, there you go, Brian.
Yep.
The Ides of March, Moneyball, and War Horse. And for Best Comedy, 50-50, The Artist, Bridesmaids, which, yay, Midnight in Paris, and My Week with Marilyn, which I thought was a drama, but apparently it's a comedy.
I saw Midnight in Paris. That was the one that was all in like in the dark, and she was naked. And
Was it a comedy?
no, it was a joke.
Oh.
A Night in Paris was that Paris Hilton thing. Remember?
Yeah, that's I don't.
Ooh,
Sorry.
wow, that was reaching.
Yeah. Thank
You
you.
went around your elbow getting your ass on that joke. Wasn't worth the trip.
It was worth a try.
I'll bet you he had that one written down.
Hope you got
didn't
paid overtime
really.
for working that hard for that joke.
This is why some people we're the quick-witted ones. Let's just leave it to the professionals. Stay out of it.
I'm quick-thumbed.
Okay. Well, those are the nominations. So anybody that's rooting for those movies, they'll be whenever the Golden Globes come out. You can see who your favorite wins.
Hugo.
Hugo, you really want Hugo to win?
I want Hugo to win, but The Help will win just because it deals with a sensitive topic, I guess.
I agree.
Hey, there was like a black film critic circle or something where The Help won Best Picture. So
No.
I saw it.
For all
It was
the-
alright.
yeah, well, I'm just saying for all the flack it received when it came out by people saying it was borderline racist, it seemed to do well with black film critics. So think what you
And
want of it.
as far as the comedies go, I think Bridesmaids should win. Kristen Wiig is comedic genius. She's probably the funniest woman on TV and movies.
I agree.
And she's probably the only thing keeping Saturday Night Live alive at this point.
She's great. They're going to make Bridesmaids too.
Of
You
course.
feel that steam coming from my undercarriage? Okay. The man who pirated, this is a true story. We've talked about piracy before, and it's come up many times. But I find this both sad and funny. The guy who pirated the Wolverine, the actual Wolverine movie.
X-Men Origins,
I'm sorry. X-Men Origins,
Wolverine.
Wolverine,
you
several years ago, was sentenced to 1 year in prison. And I did say Wolverine, by the way. It was pirated and sold. He's pirated and sold the print before it was released, and now he's getting a year in jail. Now, my question to you guys, do you think this is a fair punishment, or is this going a little extreme?
No, I think it's
I
fair.
think it's fair too.
Hanging.
I see a
Hang
difference
'em.
between pirating something before it's had a chance to come out and then, after it's out and it's on DVD or whatever. For me, once it's in theaters and it's been out on DVD, I don't see the pirating issue as warranting a year. But yeah, this guy put out something that was before it had even been released, which I think is a much more vulnerable time for a film. And, a lot of people's livelihoods depend on people going to the theaters to see these films, and anybody who's going to endanger that, I think, deserves a bit stiffer of a punishment.
All right.
But he's not just getting a year. Once he gets out, he's still going to have a year of supervised release, and he's going to have numerous computer restrictions
Yeah.
on top of that. So it's more than just the year.
So people stop pirating shit. Or at least wait until Justin's window apparently closes a little bit.
Yes,
We're going to call that the Macumber time.
the judge should call me.
Okay, well, the WB is, that's Warner Brothers, is getting Devil in the White City going. That's Leonardo DiCaprio has been attached to play Dr. H.H. Holmes. He's a famous Chicago serial killer. The reason that I bring this up, it's not a huge piece of news.
Chicago, is that it?
No, because I'm curious to see how DiCaprio is going to approach playing a serial killer. I haven't really seen him. I mean, I've seen him play, I guess, dark crime thriller characters, but an outright vicious murderer I haven't seen. So I'm kind of curious as to how he's going to play it and if he's going to sell me. Because I like DiCaprio, but sometimes I get hesitant on him.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel you.
So I'm not. Well, you can for $20. I'm.
You were so cheap.
I'm not saying I'm not all for it, and I would actually like to go see it. I'm just curious if he can win me over. That's really why I mentioned it.
I have faith. I mean, there's very few movies of his that I haven't really liked a lot, and I think he's versatile. He's a little cheesy. Like, what was it? Was it Blood Diamond, where his accent was really bad?
Oh, that
Yeah.
was horrible.
He can't
But-
do accents to save his life.
But and then the J
J. Edgar.
that was painful. But I don't know. I'm excited to see what he can do with that. I know very little about the source material, but I'll be excited to see it.
Okay. Well, that's it for movie news. We are going to roll into an exciting part for many of our, well, actually all four of us. The new trailers that are coming out down the pike. Now, you can always see the trailers on thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Trailers current episode. Just click on that tab, and each of the trailers we talk about will be there. This week, we're talking about 3 specifically, probably the hottest trailers that are out right now, honestly. And we're going to start with the first one, which is a sequel to Clash of the Titans. It's called Wrath of the Titans. I will tell you, when I first saw it, I said, fuck this. I didn't like the first one. I thought the first one was idiotic. But I also was a huge fan of the 80s original. So, bear that in mind. But I saw this trailer, and what it looks like Sam Worthington is back, and it looks like it's a different movie. It doesn't look like it's even really coming close to the feeling of the last one. I don't know.
No, it looks darker and edgier and kind of what the first one probably should have been.
Yeah, and looks good.
It does look good.
It looks good.
I kept waiting to see Kratos come jumping out of the shadows, and I know this isn't that podcast,
Uh-huh.
but the entire feel and vibe of this movie really makes me think of God of War, because it does have that bloody, brutal kind of combat vibe that God of War has. And I went into this trailer meh and came out of it going, fuck yes, where is it in theaters right now?
Now, were you a fan of the original, Dustin?
The
Dustin?
80s version?
No. The
the
last
remake?
one. Sorry.
I liked it well enough. It didn't go far enough, and I think that it was because it was a remake, it was kind of shackled a little bit in what it could do, what they were willing to do. I'll be honest, I was never a huge fan of the 80s movie either. I enjoyed it when I was
Blasphemy.
younger.
Exactly.
I enjoyed it when I was younger, but as I got older, I've never found stop motion to age well for me. And so it never carried past childhood as something I enjoyed. But the remake, it was all right. There were things I liked about it and things I didn't. But this one looks amazingly fun. I mean, those sons of bitches crashing down like
Yes.
meteorites and then just spinning out with these blades, and 2 people stuck back to back just spinning and cutting up fools. Oh, hell yeah.
And I think Liam Neeson, who I thought looked like a joke in the first movie, he looks pretty badass. Like, he looks like Zeus. I don't know what they
Those
did.
Titans look awesome.
Yes, it looks good. So you guys make sure to check that out.
It
Then-
really kind of looked like as action-packed and fast-paced as, say, like the Transformers movies, just without
Yeah.
all the robots, just mythology characters instead.
Yeah, it did. It does. Very much. Like I said, I'm surprised. I'm sold. Where I wanted nothing to do with it before, now I want to see it. So
I didn't see the original or the remake. And I saw this. I do think that this one looks better than the last remake, but I don't know. I'm just not really into that mythology. I just kind of yawned when I saw the trailer. Like,
Is it the Greek mythology you just don't get or don't care for?
I don't get it. No. I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm just tired of that.
You're
period.
more into Cupid and stuff instead
Yeah.
of that kind of mythology instead of
That's Roman.
wow.
my bad.
Sorry.
No, just no mythology. I don't know. Just the whole, just way back when in any mythology, would Greek,
Sand
Roman.
and sandal, you're not really digging.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
So
Shame
you're
on you.
more into the Nicholas Sparks mythology stuff.
But no, this looked like a lot of
that's
fun, and
funny.
but I don't want to get too far into trailers. Though I want to, before I can say, last week you guys talked about G.I. Joe. I didn't get a chance to see that trailer until I got back from the cruise. Oh my God, does that look good?
It does, doesn't it?
I watched the trailer like, oh shit!
G.I. Joe
My crush
Retaliation.
on the Rock deepens.
So make sure to listen to last week's podcast and you can hear all about G.I. Joe.
It is such a good looking trailer.
It does look cool. Looks badass. The next one, which is probably one of the most anticipated films of next year. Well, actually, the next 2 are probably the 2 most anticipated films of next year. The Dark Knight Rises. They finally came out with an actual trailer where they show Bane, even though I can't understand what the fuck he says.
Really? Do you still
really?
not know what he says?
Not really. I mean, I had to Google it.
When Gotham is in ashes, you have my permission to die.
To die.
Fuck you. I know now. I
That's what I heard the first time I saw it too.
Yeah.
All right, well-
Okay.
A lot of people say they don't understand what he says. I don't.
thought it-
I don't get that. I'm like, do your speakers work? Not to be an ass, but I heard him.
Too late.
I mean, I heard it, and then I rewound it just to make sure that I heard
I
it.
wake up and ask. Though.
All right.
Am I the only one that was kind of disappointed in this trailer? I mean, I wanted to.
No, well, let me explain what the trailer is first.
Okay.
Outside a little issue where you can't hear what the motherfucker says, apparently just me and 5 million other people. I think the trailer does everything it should, hits all the basics. It shows Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. She looks fine. Bane looks fine. Joseph Gordon-Levitt looks fine. But I felt like the trailer was really seriously lacking oomph.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
big time.
I agree.
I watched it, and it wasn't. I mean, granted, we're comparing it to the last one, which had the Joker trailers. Those trailers were awesome, and the movie itself was amazing. It's gonna be hard to even come close to matching that. I just thought it was kind of bland, really.
I
Well, there's not
agree.
enough Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Batman movie, and he is hard to find Batman in that trailer.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, he's
And
whiny.
you wouldn't know Chick's Catwoman unless you already knew it from reading a casting notice, because she's not in getup. The only person who really you can see well in costume is Bane,
Mhm.
and that's just not enough. Yeah, I feel like it's a trailer that they put together to cover a lot of the photos that have been leaked and released, like with the bat
Mhm.
hover copper, whatever that flying thing is. And, they put some stuff in it because we've already seen those things, but they didn't show nearly enough, which is odd because usually in trailers we complain that we get too much. And this one I feel like we weren't given enough.
And it wasn't a good teaser. Like when the original Dark Knight trailers came out, they gave you just enough for the Joker. You're like, I got to see what the hell he's going to do with that.
hmm
I didn't really care.
Well, part of that is most people that don't even follow Batman lore know who the Joker is. You know what I mean? I still don't have a freaking clue who Bane is. Is that from the animated series or?
No, it's from the
Yeah,
comic
here's another
books.
comic.
Comic book.
He's actually the one that broke Batman's back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know nothing about that story at all, but most people have at least heard of the Joker. Or
Go watch Batman and Robin. There's a real detailed mythology in that one for Bane.
Is this for real?
It's horrible. They half-ass it all the way. He played like Poison Ivy's lackey, basically?
Yeah,
And that's
something
not
like
what
that.
the character's supposed to be, but he's not really a big villain in that universe, but Nolan wanted to go that way, so.
He's kind of like Batman's Doomsday.
Yeah.
He was the big silent thug brought in to really endanger your hero.
Okay.
And he did it for a little while. I mean, Batman had his back broke and he was out.
Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering
But
if they're
it's-
going to bring that plot point into it at all.
I know in the little picture you see of Bane walking away and Batman's cowl kind of shattered on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That is an awesome poster, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the poster's
it looks
awesome.
good.
Trailer's not.
I can't imagine they're going to end the series though with Batman out.
No, but that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Nolan's like, fuck you ain't doing sequels to my shit. You're going to start over.
He did.
Brian, what about you? You haven't really chimed in a whole lot.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, I'm going to go see it. I don't care how bad the previews look.
Yeah.
I kind of thought the preview was lacking quite a bit too. It was okay. You kind of show everybody else in it, but where was Batman? It was kind of like getting a bag of M&Ms, but they're all brown M&Ms. It's just they're good. They still taste the same, but they ain't pretty to look at.
You are so racist, Brian.
You are so racist.
Oh, don't even start.
Brown
No.
M&Ms taste fine.
That's exactly what I said. They still taste good.
Yep.
But
I
they're
swear,
just not as pretty.
Can't a man with a southern accent say anything about Brown without being called a
Exactly.
racist? Thank God he wasn't saying he didn't like Obama. Holy crap. Okay, let's move on to my precious. That's the best I can do.
Yay.
That's the best I can do.
Wow.
Fuck you. I'm trying. There's a little trailer that you guys will hear during the break, and I don't know how well it's going to translate on radio. I don't care. It's awesome. When it first started, I kind of thought it looked a little cheesy, and then I thought maybe it was like a fan-made one. Honestly, Justin, especially Justin, when it first started playing, I'm like, oh, this isn't even the real deal. Somebody's fucking with me. And then as it goes, it starts actually looking a little Lord of the Ringsy. They start doing the little chanting song, which you'll hear in the trailer break. And then I decided that The Hobbit is my go-to movie for December of next year.
Wow.
I think it's awesome. God, I can't wait. I want to go back to the Shire. And that comes out next December. What did you guys think? Come on, chime in.
I didn't really think you were that big a fan of Walken.
Christopher Walken? I like him. He's funny. He pulled watches out of his butt.
It's an uncomfortable hunk of metal.
Yes.
I thought it looked good. I wished we would have seen Smaug. I don't know how much the dragon will be in the first film, because they've split The Hobbit into 2 films.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm understanding correctly, they're bringing in some material from the Silmarillion to kind of pad things out a little bit and to give some more for Gandalf to do and some of the other characters. And so they're putting more in this film than the book The Hobbit actually has. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how much Smaug the dragon, which is the whole purpose of The Hobbit, is he's going with these dwarves to the volcano, to the cave where this dragon is, to get back some treasure or something. He's hired as a thief.
Mm-hmm.
And the treasure's overseen, laid on by this dragon. I wish we could have seen that, but I don't even know if he's going to feature in that first film.
I think it'll probably be the cliffhanger. I think they'll probably leave on the dragon, if I had to
probably.
guess.
But it looked so good, and I'm just so excited to get back to Peter Jackson's Middle Earth. I didn't realize how much I missed it until I started watching the trailer and saw some of the sets and the props, and seeing Sting in Bilbo's hand and hearing Andy Serkis just really makes me want to go back.
But you guys, obviously, Justin and I are a little bit of fanboy. But what about you, Scott?
I'm kind of indifferent. I mean, like I mentioned about the mythology movies, I'm kind of the same way with this. Don't shoot daggers at me, Justin. I like the Lord of the Rings movies. I do, but they're not movies that I watch or worship as much as like the Star Wars franchise or Back to the Future, or like those kind of trilogies. These movies are enjoyable, but they're harder to watch. I mean, they're commitments.
Very in depth.
They're it's a commitment to sit down and watch one of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, they're long, but they're so true to the original source material, to the book, that, and I mean that in a good way, that it's not like I sit down and watch a 2.5 hour movie and just am entirely enraptured in it. That said, I think this looks very much like those, and I'm excited to see what they do with it, but I'm not as amped as everybody is. I mean,
that's fair. That's fair.
And that said, The Hobbit is actually the only book of the series that I've read.
And it did not need to be split into 2 movies. That's the only one that I think could have been made with one film.
I don't remember it being that long.
It wasn't that long.
It was pretty short, if I remember right. But
well, that's why I think they're bringing in extra material from the Silmarillion, which is a text that Tolkien wrote to bring in some of the history of Middle Earth and what some of these characters were doing. I think the reason they're probably going to do 2 films, or the reason they split it, is it's probably so expensive to rebuild those sets, to put those Weta computers fired back up, and everything. It's probably so expensive to make one film that you almost maybe have to make 2 to really get your money back. I don't know.
Or they just
I'm
money.
excited. I mean, shit, more Peter Jackson Middle Earth, whatever you got to do.
Brian, did you like it?
Oh, yeah. Man, I'm pumped for this. I've been watching the extended versions anytime I catch them on cable here lately.
Really?
Yeah, they, over Thanksgiving weekend, I think it was on Stars or Encore, they just played all 3 movies back to back to back, just all weekend. And so ever since then, they don't, they haven't played it as much, but they'll play it, on one of the channels, you can usually catch it, one of the movies. So anytime I'm flipping channels and I catch it, I end up stopping on it and watching it. And what's good about it, Scott, you're right. There is so much information. There's so many characters and so many stories and subplots and interactions and stuff but I mean, to this day, I can still watch them and pick up on little stuff, little subtle things that I might have missed before. So, and that's one of the things I like about it is not only do I just like the general movies, but I also like the fact that there is a lot of of rewatchability there,
Sure.
and still find those little things that go, oh, okay, well that makes this part 6 hours ago make a little bit more sense.
Well, and I want to be clear, I'm not being a hater on it by any means at all, but I think that I haven't watched the originals enough multiple times where I feel like I need to see another one just yet. Like, I could still go back and watch the originals and get just as much enjoyment out of watching those as I could watching The Hobbit. So that's just because I just haven't watched them as much as you guys. I mean, I've watched them 2 or 3 times, but I don't know.
Well, I think I'm going to watch them again over the holidays.
Yeah.
And I will. And the best thing about Lord of the Rings is if my wife won't stop nagging, that's the one film series I can put in at any point, and she will stop, sit down, and be quiet. I like it. It's seriously.
Does she let you cut it off as soon as he, like, at that one scene at the end of Return of the King that you say the
Yep.
movie should be done?
That's when I turn the movie off. Like clockwork. As soon as they say you bow to no one, movie's off. That's where I end it.
That makes me cry every time.
I do not continue after that part. I'm sorry, Peter Jackson. I am a better editor than you. Okay.
Just listen to this podcast.
Exactly. We're going to move on to the big screen. That's where we talk about any new releases that are out. We're going to review them, and then we'll talk about what's coming down the pike. Not a whole lot coming down the pike, but we will review 2 new releases as we talked about. The first one, I'm the only one that saw it, so you'll hear my review, and that's going to be Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows. I am a huge fan of the first one. This is probably my most anticipated movie of the month. I was very pumped to see it. Basically what this is Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock Holmes is back, along with Jude Law's Dr. Watson. And Holmes has been following a bunch of terrorist attacks, and he's linked them all to one very specific, very random, but a genius adversary, and that's Professor James Moriarty. And he's played by Jared Harris. He's a character actor. If you guys have ever read any of the Sherlock Holmes books, you know Moriarty is very prominent in the entire series, which is, 40 or 50 short stories and then a couple novels. Moriarty is very often seen in the background. He's not always a prominent figure in the stories, but he's always the arch nemesis to Sherlock Holmes. He is the epitome of the arch nemesis of modern day villains. He really is. So, that said, Holmes and Watson chemistry is once again at the forefront. Watson gets married in this picture. Oh, I said picture like I'm 80 years old. Jesus Christ. So, he gets married in this picture, and subsequent he gets involved. What?
He said it again.
Did I say picture again?
Yeah, you did.
In the
God damn
soundy,
it. Moving pictures. He gets involved in the mystery, of course, and that's basically it causes problems for his marriage, both humorous and dangerous. Noomi Rapace is in it. She was the original girl with the dragon tattoo. She shows up as Simza. She's a gypsy Holmes ties into the conspiracy. Rachel McAdams pops in for just a bit. Both are really nothing more than glorified cameos. And well, I guess Noomi's more than a glorified cameo, but she doesn't really have much to do. So basically, the women in this movie are wasted. It's really about Holmes and Watson and their pursuit of Moriarty. The film is good. It's pretty good. It's very entertaining. Let me go into the direction, I guess. Guy Ritchie directed the first one, and he directs this one. He's also done Snatch. Brian, help me out here.
Lock,
Stock,
Stock,
Two
Two Smoking
There you go.
Barrels,
Okay.
Rock and Rolla.
See, he's done a lot of crime thrillers. And then he did Sherlock Holmes, which is his first hit movie, okay, which he did a very good job with. And he did in that movie that slow motion where they slow the frame down and they kind of go through Holmes' brain, where they show how he picks things apart and how they're going to proceed when it goes to live action. So he basically does a slow motion version of what's going through his head, and then they do the actual time version,
Which is awesome.
It's awesome. In this movie, he does it way too fucking much.
Yeah.
It happens at least 10 times, it feels
Wow.
like. And it gets old. I mean, it's a really cool effect, and I like how he did it. But I think he thought it was a lot cooler than it really was, and he wanted to do it a lot. That part took me out of it a little bit. So that part's getting a little thin with the series. I don't know if they're making any more, but if they do, please, Guy Ritchie, stop doing that. Or at least slow it down. Once or twice is enough. We get it. The slow motion action, I generally get really annoyed with, but there is a fight through a forest where it's very prominent. The bullets are coming because there's not many. I mean, this is the 1800s, late 1800s. I mean, it's like muskets and shit. It's not like a semi-automatic weapon. So when the bullets are coming, there's very few and far between. But when they're coming, you can feel like every bullet hits. So when it hits a character, and the slow motion, the way it plays, you actually feel the pain of that character, and it kind of makes it a little more realistic. And there's a train scene that was phenomenal. That was probably the best action scene on it. So, which brings me to my biggest complaint, I hate to say it, which is Robert Downey Jr.'s Holmes. Now, so far it sounds kind of like a negative review, and it's really not. It's just I'm pointing out the things that, as a person that loved the first one, this is kind of what bothered me. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Robert Downey Jr., who I love, and I loved what he did with Holmes in the first one, gets way too fucking close to camp. Like, he takes the character way too close to camp. He does a lot more costumes and, basically where he tries to hide who he is and very clever and witty. Oh, I'm going to dress up. And he dresses up like a woman and he dresses up like a million different things, but he gets too close to the campy line. That stuff is clever until you take it too far and you're trying to go for the easy joke, and that's where he gets really close to in this movie. Doesn't quite get there.
Is that the writing or is that his acting?
I think it's both. I think Downey wanted to take it a little further, and he wanted to do a lot of the costumes and let's pretend I'm a different person and dress up and everything else, because it's funny. Because when he dresses up like a woman, it's funny. Everybody's seen that commercial.
Mm-hmm.
But it also, when little things like that start happening a little too much, it borders on camp. It gets really close to, okay, now you're just doing it for the easy joke. And that to me is camp, and that doesn't belong in this film at all.
Okay.
So, especially being a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. That part I didn't like, but he didn't quite go over the line, but there's several moments where I'm like, oh, please don't, just stop. And then he would pull back. But I was very concerned throughout some of the movie. So, if there's another one, I really hope that they dial that back a little bit and get more with he's a little wacky, but he's still serious nature than the first movie. The score from the first movie, which I worshipped, I loved the score in the original movie. I didn't feel like it was very prominent here. Like, I didn't hear it a lot. I hear it here and there, but it wasn't nearly as prominent as the first movie. That's something that I noticed. Okay, now what I loved was this is the thing where the movie was kind of it wasn't up to par where I wanted it to be, but as the characters played on and the film played on, brought it right back up to shoot it up over the mountaintop. So it ended really strong. The scenes between Moriarty and Holmes are perfect. Like the mental chess play between those two, perfect. Loved what both actors did. They both nailed, especially because I did read every single one of those stories. They really nailed what Conan Doyle wrote about in those scenes. I mean, how those two were constantly having a verbal chess match. And I've said that once already, but I'll keep saying it because it very much applies. In the writing and the stories, and what is only hinted at in the movie, especially the first movie, and a little more prominent in this one, is that Holmes and Moriarty they spar. They're both of equal intellect, is kind of how it is, except Holmes knows where to stop, and Moriarty goes way over the edge. He wants to bring about the end of the world. Holmes still has a little bit of that moral compass. So, and honestly, Holmes would be who Moriarty is if he just lost his sense of right. So, and the very end, they do literally a chess match, and the way it plays out isn't like your typical action flick ending, which I was so thankful, because I thought it was just going to be cheesy, over the top action ending, the way that the film had been going so far.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't. It was very much a mental chess match. It was very much of these two against each other to the very end, trying to one-up each other.
That sounds really intriguing.
That part was awesome, and it brought the whole movie up. It really did. So you ended on a woohoo instead of a Downey, you almost didn't make it, So, bottom line, I didn't love everything, but I had more fun than I've had with most movies this year. And the things that I didn't like, that's mostly what I focused on. But the movie itself, I really liked. I just didn't like it as much as the last one. Downey should have toned it down just a hair, and it would have been a lot better. So, out of if $10 is the full price of a ticket, I'd spend $7.50 on it. Boom! I know it was long, but by God, that's what I got.
Well, hey, you're a big Sherlock Holmes fan.
Huge Sherlock Holmes fan. So, Justin, did that sell you? That probably didn't sell you, did it?
Well, I mean, I wasn't all that chomping at the bit to watch it anyway. I wouldn't say you've increased or decreased my desire to see it.
Well, you really should like the first one better.
I've got it. I'll watch it again. It could have been the mood.
That's right.
But I'll see this one, but it'll definitely be DVD.
Next time, get in the mood for love. So let's go to Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. Scott Clark, you can start this one. I'll just chime in when you're done.
Oh man, okay. So Aaron and I went with a bunch of other people from his work last night to go see this Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, and this is a movie that I have been avoiding knowing anything about. I've not read the book like Aaron has. I knew very little about it. I saw one trailer and said I need to see that movie, and I've kind of kept any information under the radar. So I went into this knowing literally nothing. The movie follows at first two separate stories. It starts with is it pronounced Mikhail?
Mikhail.
Mikhail, who is a investigative reporter who is basically lost all of his life savings at the beginning of the movie because he wrongly accused somebody, or so we thought, and he's commissioned by this guy who's a member of a family that lives on an island. They all live. Each of the family members lives in a different house, and they hired Mikhail to, or this one man hires Mikhail to help him solve a 40-year-old murder, basically. And that Mikhail is played by Daniel Craig. And he kind of starts out unwillingly, but the guy offers him like double his salary and blah, blah, blah. But the other side of the story is this girl. It's Elizabeth Salander.
Elizabeth. There's no E. Yeah.
Did I say Elizabeth?
It just
Elizabeth?
sounded like that.
Elizabeth Salander, who is played by Rooney Mara.
Rooney Mara.
And she is fantastic in this movie. But she is she's an investigator herself, not kind of like a private
She's
detective.
a researcher.
Yeah, a researcher.
Mm-hmm.
And she is a very different, intriguing character. She's, the first time you see her, she's got a mohawk and piercings, and her eyebrows are bleached white, and very off-putting the first time you see her. Very moody at first. She winds up getting commissioned by Mikhail to help him solve this murder. And very dark, very grisly movie. Even the opening credits, which I thought were amazing, I thought it was awesome. The music is done by Trent Reznor and I can't remember the other guy's name, but the two that did the music on the Social Network did the music on this, and the whole opening sequence with their music and the dark, weird stuff that's going on just really, really set the mood. It was awesome. There's some very disturbing, violent scenes in the movie, as well as a lot of nudity. But what I really liked about this movie in that respect is that none of it was gratuitous. Everything about it, even though it's very off-putting, was very necessary to the characters, in my opinion. It really, one particular scene which I won't talk about, but there's one particular scene that really is where you feel like you attach to the character of Lisbeth. Like you really kind of get a feel for who she is. And the only negative thing I will say about the movie is that I think the second act is very strong. I think the beginning and the end falter a little bit just in the speed. The beginning I think is a little rushed. There's a couple times I actually had to ask you because you've read the book. I was a little confused as to what was going on. The end I think dragged out a little bit, but I was still captivated the entire time because I had no idea what was going on, and I really wanted to see it to its conclusion. The meat and potatoes of this movie is the second act in the middle, where the really interesting things kind of happen. I can't recommend this movie enough. I thoroughly enjoyed it, even though it was kind of long. I had a lot of fun with it. I was impacted by a lot of the scenes in it. If we're doing $10, I would give it an easy 8.5.
So you liked it a lot.
I liked it a very great deal.
A very great deal?
I liked it a lot.
Okay. Here's what I thought. I loved Elizabeth. I thought she was fantastic. Rooney Mara, whoever the fuck she is. She nailed the character. I think she did a much better job than Noomi Rapace from the foreign films, which I did see the first foreign one. I didn't see the other two, so I don't know how they went. But I did read the book, the first book. She did fantastic. I really think she made the character her own.
Amazing.
She owned it. And there's a lot of dark places the character goes. And she's not eccentric. She's borderline insane. I mean, she even says so in the film. And I think you can figure that out probably about 20 minutes into the movie, that she's crazy. But also very resourceful and very good at her job, which is researching. So the thing I didn't think was that great was Daniel Craig. I thought Mikhail could have been Michael. He obviously she really stuck to the heritage of the character, and you could tell she even kept a little Swedish accent or whatever. I mean, Daniel Craig just showed up, and he's fucking Daniel Craig. You know, he's like, "What's up, James Bond, bitches? Here I am. I'm going to do some reporting, and then, you know, hang out with this crazy chick, and life's good." So he wasn't quite as electric as I had hoped. I thought he was just he was serviceable. He did his job. I thought the movie was a little bland at the beginning. The end dragged a lot. It was very much like Return of the King, Justin, where it was like at some point, you know what? I realize you want to follow the book, but you need to learn where to cut it. And there was a point where the movie should have ended, and I thought they dragged it on a little too long. And that, not like a deal killer, but it was enough to where I said, "Okay, I was ready to leave like 10 minutes ago. Let's do this."
I will say one thing I liked about it is that taking it from a Swedish source and bringing it to an American American director, that they didn't like do it set in like Chicago or San Francisco or whatever. They kept it in Sweden. Mm-hmm. They didn't make him Michael. They didn't make her.
No, they made him Michael. They just didn't change his name to Michael because he played him with no accent whatsoever.
Right, but I like that they kept it in Sweden. They didn't try to make it an American movie. They made an American-made movie set in its original, where the original setting was from the book. And
I'll be honest, if they would have kept her character without the fucking Swedish accent, I would have bought this a whole lot more. But when you've got one character that's very American and one that's very Swedish, I'm like, what? Make up your fucking mind.
Well,
Fincher.
Look at, speaking of, Robin Wright was in it, and her accent went from like English,
Kevin Costner-esque,
like she started out with a really thick English accent to like straight American accent to a twinge of Swedish accent. Like it was very distracting.
Just like Costner, man. Like, I expected a fucking horse to ride in and swoop her up. So that's what
Alan Rickman in this bitch.
Exactly.
Now the real question for me though is: was there as much ass rape as you were anticipating?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
That's what I needed to know.
And what Scott was alluding to, because
is that what made you feel connected to the movie there, Scott? Or
yes.
Well,
that's the part he lit up the most. He ate the most popcorn during that scene.
He's yelling, "Rewind it! Rewind!"
All of a sudden, he's reaching into that popcorn butter a little more.
Exactly. Why isn't there a hole in his bag? Here's the thing that I really was concerned about. There were parts, especially the first probably like 45 minutes, where I felt like David Fincher, who's the director, for people that don't realize that, made the assumption that everybody that's watching the movie read the book. Because I don't think he really clearly defined what was going on. I mean, he made it clear as the movie went on, and you kind of picked up, okay, I got it. But I think if you didn't read the book, the first 45 minutes or so was hard to follow, which Scott even alluded to. So that part I wasn't a fan of, but he made up for it near the end. There's some really intense scenes. The scenes with Elizabeth just going apeshit was awesome. I don't want to spoil anything because I'm making the assumption that most people haven't read the book, so I don't want to ruin anything for them. So
I could watch her play this role for
2 more movies, roughly.
Well, I'm just saying, like she is so entertaining to watch. She owns the screen and everything that she's in. I can't take my eyes off her, and I don't mean that in a weird, gross way. Like she is just captivating to watch.
Yeah, she's good.
Not just the costume, not just the her makeup and her hair and everything like that. She is just so interesting to watch in every scene that she does.
I think it's one of those issues where she makes the movie better than it really is. Mm-hmm. I don't think the movie is great. I think it's actually one of Fincher's weaker efforts, in my opinion. But she elevates the material, takes it to a different level. So instead of just being a standard mystery thriller, I think she really makes it something special.
Just to give you were asking about the infamous scene, Brian, or was it Justin? I can't remember. Justin asked about that scene. You know, in another of Fincher's movies, and this isn't my own thoughts. I heard this on a review that I heard actually on the way over here. You know how in Seven, the scene for the guy that had the thing strapped to him, mm-hmm. And you remember when he killed that? Like in that movie, like when you kind of get the idea of what's going on, but you never see it, mm-hmm. right? You kind of like in your head see what's happening. In this movie, you see it. It's like there's no question. There's no. It's very off-putting. Obviously,
it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, especially.
Let's be careful. I don't want to go into.
No. I know. I'm just saying that. But because it was so in your face and brutal, and the retribution for it after that
Is
just
it
really.
worse than Get the Gimp?
What's that?
Pulp
Yes,
Fiction.
it was.
Well, next week, Aaron, make sure and bring your mom on so she can tell us what she
Yes.
thought of the
Did you buy her the
adaptation
book?
from
I would
Screen
love to. Yeah,
Screen.
I did buy my mom that book. Oops, there it was. Okay, so
Well,
overall,
I appreciate you giving it kind of a heads up, though, as far as, letting us know about the uncomfortable feelings coming down the pike.
fuck you. Apparently, I said coming down the pike a little too much, and Brian wants to point that out. He's a dick.
Hey, Brian, we all have our own things,
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, you know.
I know, like.
So since I haven't gotten to the point, but overall, I liked it, didn't love it. $10, 7 is what I pay for it. 7 out of 10.
I'm
So
still solid.
I like Sherlock Holmes better, obviously, because Sherlock Holmes never gets ass raped. Although that would take it to a different place. Then Justin would show up. He'd be like, "That's a Game of Shadows."
I might if Moriarty's got Sherlock bent over a table.
Jesus.
That might draw me into the theater.
Wow. All right. So Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows, I gave 7.5 out of 10. Scott gives Girl with the Dragon Tattoo 8.5 out of 10, and I give it 7 out of 10. So we both liked it. Give it a shot. Let's move on to real quick box office recap. Not going to go into too much detail. Just tell you what the top 3 are for last weekend. Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows opened to $39.6 million, which is actually not great. It's just okay. They were expecting about 10 to 15 million more, so don't know if we'll get me a third one. Really hope I do, because I want to see Moriarty. Alvin and the Chipmunks Chipwrecked opened to $23.2 million. Who gives a fuck?
People.
Hopefully that means that franchise is dead.
I hope so.
I hope so. Yeah,
It's
run it over with a
23 million
fucking
too
car.
much.
It is. It's about 22 million. I mean, give it 1. And
Fuck 'em, don't give them anything.
and the best part was Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Limited release.
Limited release only in 425, granted IMAX, but 425 theaters, made $12.7 million. That movie's going to be big. It's going to be big, which we will be reviewing next week.
Every
I'm going to go
trailer
see
looks
it.
amazing.
I think Justin and Brian and Scott are all going to be seeing it. So next week we will review Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Or, as I like to call it, Jeremy Renner's next franchise. You like that? You see what I did there? Okay. If you want to hear more about the movies that are out this weekend, which is December 21st, Ghost Protocol, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Adventures of Tintin, and December 25th, which is Christmas, War Horse and The Darkest Hour are all out. We used to discuss them on last week's episode. That's episode 20, so be sure to look that bitch up. We did forget one, so I will mention it quick. I'm not going to go into too much detail on it. But on Christmas Day, We Bought a Zoo is coming out, and that's Matt Damon. Besides, him and his little kitties need a fresh start,
Sorry.
so they open a zoo. I don't know why that's going to exactly. I mean, it's Cameron Crowe directed it, and
I know, but it's the first Cameron Crowe movie I can remember where I'm like, I have no interest
I was just
in
going to
this
say that.
whatsoever.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the flop of the theater. Honestly, I think Tintin might be pretty big. But
I did see Matt Damon on the Jon Stewart show. Was last Thursday. It was on my DVR when I got back.
Oh,
That
it's
dude is
hilarious.
so charismatic. It is ridiculous.
Yeah. Do you think he's at some point, because he hasn't had a hit movie in a while, like looking at the Bourne franchise, like maybe I should have done that 4th movie. Maybe.
Let's cycle that up again.
Yes. Because I'm not quite the director that Affleck is. So I really want to do
I want to see
Bourne.
Good Will Hunting too.
Wow. Applesauce, bitch. Okay, Scarlett Johansson's also in that movie, and it's a very family-oriented movie. It's getting decent reviews, so it's not a bad movie. It just, I don't know if it's really worth with all the movies that are out right now, there's a lot of big, good studio flicks that are out. I think you're better off seeing one of those.
It's pretty sad that Scarlett Johansson being in the movie is not enough to make me interested in the movie.
You know why? Because you've already seen her naked on the internet, so at this point, what more?
Yeah, if she had her boobs out, I'd be much more interested in seeing this.
Family flick. Doesn't.
Well, that would be
We bought a zoo and a brothel.
yes,
Just have to feed, right?
that's true. Cougars
Those
have
can
to
be
feed.
family, kind of.
Stump the Hoe.
Stump the Hoe is our little game where each week one of our podcasters tests our other podcasters' film or television insights with a question. And he's trying to stump us. This week, the podcaster that gets this this honor, I would say, is Brian Williams. So, Brian, what is your Stump the Hoe question, sir?
All right. Well, with all this Daniel Craig stuff, I figured I'd go with something Bond related.
Sweet.
So, pretty straightforward question. Which Bond film was not based on a book?
Oh.
A, The Living Daylights. B, The Man with a Golden Gun. C, The Spy Who Loved Me. Or D, Tomorrow Never Dies. Those choices one more time for you. Is A, The Living Daylights. B, The Man with a Golden Gun. C, The Spy Who Loved Me. Or D, Tomorrow Never Dies.
And I will remind our listeners that we are not allowed to Google or anything else. If I hear a motherfucker click, I'm kicking some ass. All right, Justin, why don't you go first? Because you're the one I can't see.
I would go with Tomorrow Never Dies.
Okay, Scott.
That was what I was going to initially go with, but it seems like the easy answer. So I'm going to go with A.
Which was Living Daylights?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to go with Tomorrow Never Dies, too. Because if it was a book, it was a shitty book. So that is our questions, or that is our answers. I'm going with Tomorrow Never Dies. Justin's going with Tomorrow Never Dies. Scott's going with Living Daylights. Right now, you're going to hear the trailer for The Hobbit. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Remember that if you would like to suggest a Stump the Hoe question, send it to feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. That's feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com, and I will read it to our podcasters and not give them the answer till we return from the break, like we're going to do right now. So right now, enjoy The Hobbit.
My dear Frodo, you asked me once if I had told you everything there was to know about my adventures. Well, I can honestly say I have told you the truth. I may not have told you all of it.
Bilbo Baggins. I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
I can't just go running off into the blue. I am a Baggins.
Wait!
Of Bag End.
Bilbo, allow me to introduce Fili, Kili, Oin, Loin, Dwalin, Balin, Biffa, Boffa, Bomba, Dori, Nori, Ori, and the leader of our company, Thorin Oakenshield.
Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, the pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night, the fire was red, it flaming spread, the trees like torches blazed with light.
I cannot guarantee his safety.
Understood.
Nor will I be responsible for his fate.
You'll have a tale or two to tell when you come back.
Can you promise that I will come back?
No. And if you do, you will not be the same.
My name is Bilbo Baggins.
Bagginses. What is Bagginses? Precious.
And that was The Hobbit. So make sure to go to the website at thehollywoodoutsiders.com and you can actually see the visual representation of what you just heard, which is awesome. Okay, Brian Williams, Stump the Hoe. Please repeat your question.
All right. Which Bond film was not based on a book? A, The Living Daylights. B, The Man with a Golden Gun. C, The Spy Who Loved Me. Or D, Tomorrow Never Dies. Justin and Aaron, you both guessed Tomorrow Never Dies because it was such a shitty movie.
Yep.
And Scott, you guessed A, The Living Daylights.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the correct answer is actually C, The Spy Who Loved Me.
Really?
Wow.
Well, that seems like
He was now. That being said, it was actually it was eventually turned into a book. At the time they were making the movie, Ian Fleming was not he was not happy with the way the book was going. So he said, you can only use the title.
Really?
So it's the first movie that was not based on it was the first original Bond film.
That's really interesting.
So after the movie became such a success, he released a novelization version of it later. So
okay. All right. Well, that was Stump the Ho. So remember, if you have a Stump the Ho question you want to suggest, send it to feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. We will read it on the air. Let's see if you can stump our hoes. I
don't know if I like being called a hoe.
Oh, I don't mind.
You know what? I'm actually kind of proud.
I'm a hoe.
You own it. You own it, Brian.
That's right. I'm a hoe, motherfucker.
Shit. All right, bitches. We're going to move on to the Idiot Box, and that's where we talk about what's new on TV news and what we've been watching and what on at home, basically. So TV, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever. And also what Blu-ray and DVD releases are coming down the pike. First piece of news, and this is one that I thought people might care about. I don't know why, but Ashton Kutcher apparently is bringing his punked shit fucking show back for a revival. That's a show where he ran around and punked celebrities and shit. Cool for him. I don't care. I don't want to see it, but a very slow week in TV news, so.
I'll watch it if he punks Demi Moore.
I think he already.
Fuck, that would be awesome.
I think he already punked Demi Moore.
That's true, he did.
Are the cameras already rolling?
Long punk, though.
He just comes out of the chair there. Ha!
Gotcha. It was your sister. Oh, snap. Okay, well, if you're a big fan of that show, it's going to be back, so look forward to it. MTV is going to redo it, which apparently they're bringing back all their old shit. Beavis and Butthead's already back, and now they're doing Punked. I hope they redo music videos at some point. That would be cool.
No, that'll never happen.
Probably not. The next piece of news, America's Got Talent selected a judge, and it's going to be Howard Stern. Yay.
With no actual talent other than talking.
Exactly. Says the podcaster.
Yeah, but he's not judging a singing contest.
That's true. Yeah, I don't quite understand. I mean, granted, Howard Stern, I can listen to him. I think he's a little crass, and his shtick has gotten very old. But, I mean, he's got no talent. He's definitely got no history in music. So I don't know why he's judging a singing contest. Or is it like actually just singing?
It's a lot of things,
stuff, right?
but it's a lot of singing. From what I've viewed on commercials, I don't watch that shit.
Yeah, I don't watch it either.
I do watch America's Got Talent, actually. And go ahead. What were you going to say?
Jokes
they
right
actually, no, I've seen a few episodes in this past season. They had a couple of really inspirational acts. The kids that did the silhouettes.
That was amazing.
They were absolutely phenomenal. Look them up on YouTube. I forget the name of them, but I'm sure it won't be hard to find them.
I think it was Silhouettes.
Okay, but it was. I mean, they were absolutely phonamenal, and just about brought you to tears every time you watched them. So, but there's a lot of.
What's that?
Yeah, well, I ain't going to deny that.
I just like it because it's something different than America's Got Talent and The Voice and the X Factor, which is all just singing competitions. Which, granted, a singer seems to always win in these things, but it's fun seeing goofy stuff, on stage other than singers. Especially remember how when American Idol was fun when they had the bad singers at the beginning when it was a novelty thing?
It's the only time I ever watch it.
Right. And now that's like, okay, now it's just people are just doing it just to be as dumb as possible on stage.
Because they think they'll get on TV.
Because they're going to think they're going to get on TV. With America's Got Talent, you take that to another level because they're not limited to just being a singer. They can do any kind of act, and you see some hilarious stuff, but you also see some funny stuff that actually is good. So, I like the show. That said, we're talking about Howard Stern. I think what they're going for in by putting him on there is the shock factor. If you read in the article that you posted here, all these conservatives are getting all up in arms about it.
If you read the article that I posted here on your computer.
Yes.
Okay. All these conservatives are what?
These conservatives are up in arms about Howard Stern being on a network television show because when he's on, as we all know, he's very colorful and vulgar on his radio program. And that's exactly what they want, because that's what people are going to come to see if he's going to. He's not going to, obviously. It's going to be network TV, but they want to see what he's going to do.
Yeah, he's not going to like show up with strippers on his lap all butt naked.
Right. But I mean,
although I would watch it.
And I'm asking this.
Robin Quivers off to the side. Just, ha 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 ha, ha Howard, ha ha, you're so funny.
Exactly.
And I'm asking this sincerely because I don't know who is Piers Morgan outside of CNN as far as talent goes? Is he's not a performer, or is he judged before?
He's on CNN, so he's a performer. Yep.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I mean, it's the same thing with, from that merit, Howard Stern has as much of a right to be there as Piers Morgan or Howie Mandel.
I'm not saying whether he does or doesn't have a right to be there. I think it's like a shock value, and that's
what they're going for.
Yeah, that's what they're going for, but it won't last. I don't.
But it's network television. How shocking is he really going to be?
Exactly. He won't even be able to do anything people want him to do.
Mm-hmm.
And all these mouth breathers who are up in arms about it, they haven't watched or listened to Howard Stern in 25 years. So fuck them.
Yeah.
It's not exactly, worthy to get all hyped up over.
Exactly. He's
an over the. I mean, I respect what he's done for radio and everything. I think he's well past his relevance, but this is apparently a jump the shark moment for the show, because this is surely there's somebody who's a little bit better evaluator of talent than Howard fucking Stern,
and somebody more current.
Yeah.
Have you seen him lately?
Yeah, he looks like shit.
He looks like Larry King, practically, just with scraggly hair.
Larry King might be a stretch.
Brian May from Queen.
But I remember before Jennifer Lopez and Steven Tyler went on American Idol, it had been talked about that Howard Stern might have been going to be a judge on American Idol, too. So people, I think, have been wanting him to, lend his brand, however you want to phrase it, to one of these shows for a while. But I think this show, more than any of them, lends itself at least to his style of judging, considering that his show is a circus unto itself, and the show being so broad in what it allows on. I'm sure there is nothing that he'll see on that stage that won't pale to things that have gone on in his studios. I doubt anybody on the stage will be shooting ping pongs out of their JJ.
That's too bad. I would watch that.
That is too bad.
That's talent.
That's a
that
talent.
might get me to watch the show.
That's talent. I would be right there with a fucking tennis racket, ready to bat him back. Okay.
I wouldn't. Everything be blurred out. I couldn't see anything.
The put it on Showtime. The Super Bowl is going to be on NBC this year. It's going to be the first time that it's live streamed on the internet. Which that's pretty cool. I mean, it's just
for free.
What's that? I don't know if I don't know if it'll be for free, but you still see the ads. I mean, it'll be the same thing. So just like watching on television, I think what they're trying to do is embrace the fact that the world is going toward an internet world, and television is going to be on the internet. So I think NBC is trying to embrace that and make a few bucks in the process. Charge a little bit more to advertisers because it's going to be on more than one outlet. And there you go.
Can they charge advertisers even more?
They will.
Aren't they already just milking those teats dry?
Well, the Super Bowl is the highest rated broadcast of the year, every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's bigger than anything else that's on. So
well, that's what I'm saying. They already charge these guys pretty well an arm and a leg. Now they're going to want a third limb to go with it. But I think it's a good, it's like you said, it signals that the world is changing and ABC wants to get out in front of it as opposed to bringing up the rear again.
Exactly.
When I first saw this, I kind of tilted my head to the side, like, why? Because like most of the people that watch the Super Bowl, I mean, obviously there's no other outlet, but you're at a Super Bowl party or you're sitting on your couch watching the Super Bowl. Who is needing to watch?
A lot of people work though.
True, but I mean, I can't pull up a laptop and watch the Super Bowl at work. I mean, what places? I don't know.
Well, you can, but some people can. Or what about those people who might be able to stream it on their mobile device if they're...
And that's what the article was saying is like people... Yeah. I think the article actually mentioned like if someone has to run to the store, then they can still watch the game while they're...
Oh, that's what they should be doing.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see the numbers as far as how many are actually live streaming it this year, as opposed to watching it on TV. That would be an interesting number for me.
Yep. Okay, well, the Golden Globes, as I said, were already announced, so I'm going to mention real quick what the nominees for Best TV Series are, also separated by drama and comedy. Best TV Series Drama, which actually kind of surprised me, American Horror Story got nominated.
Woohoo!
What? Boardwalk Empire, Bouse, like a Bouse, Game of Thrones, and Homeland. So everything fucking Brian watches got nominated. So
maybe I should take Howard Stern's spot on America's Got Talent.
Yeah, you know talent. Best TV series for comedy is Enlightened. I don't even know what that show is.
I've never even heard of that.
Never heard of it. Episodes, which I think is only like literally 6 episodes, but okay. Glee, Modern Family, and New Girl. So I'll always give it to Modern Family until it stops being funny. That's one of my favorite shows.
I keep hearing fantastic things about American Horror Story. I need to.
It's good. It is good.
Oh,
it is good.
It's good.
Yeah.
Of course,
Game of Thrones should win this hands down by far.
Well, I can't wait till March when it comes out for DVD and download because I've not seen it yet, other than the pilot episode.
Just
I really
buy it.
Watch it.
Just go ahead, get it on Amazon. Go ahead, buy it.
Hang on, because HBO DVDs and Blu-rays are really fucking expensive. They never come out at reasonable prices.
The HD download on iTunes is like $35 for the series or the season. That's not bad.
No, that's not bad. Okay, well that brings me to, did you see that? What you've been watching on TV, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever. We don't want to go too far into it, but I did finally start watching Game of Thrones, Brian.
You did?
Really good friend of mine gave it to me basically on a hard drive. Oh, I hope it's not illegal.
Pirate.
Gonna go to jail for a year.
Yeah.
No, they actually pay for HBO. So
Way
technically,
to get off your
but you don't.
there. And,
bitch, I will still rent it when it comes out because I want a better quality. But I've only watched like one episode, but it's good. I didn't think it was great so far, but they also said it has a slow start. So
it really does. In the first episode, my head was swimming. I was going, who's who and what's what, and there's people having sex that shouldn't be having sex, and you realize that till a couple episodes later that, oh, hey, you're related. Oh, that's not good. So.
Wow.
Yeah. Good call. All right.
Keep it in the family, man.
Also, I have, the only other thing I've really been watching is I've been watching the BBC modernization of Sherlock, which is the modern day update of Sherlock Holmes.
Isn't it good?
It's really good. Fantastic. The acting.
On Netflix, cute.
Oh, the acting's phenomenal. And there's only 3 episodes because it's British TV, so they do like 3 little mini movies. But it's great. I recommend it. What's that?
You just said it's okay. 3 episodes.
Well, it's just like
I'm sorry.
Knock a few more out, man. Anything you guys have been watching? Anything exciting?
Well, now that school's done, I was able to get caught up on some not old movies, but from the year. I watched the remake of Fright Night. I actually thought that was a lot of fun.
You liked it?
Yeah, I did.
Yes, I think you mentioned it last week, didn't you?
Did I? Yeah. And no, I didn't. I didn't watch that until okay, maybe I did. I already mentioned Fast 5. I watched Our Idiot Brother, and yeah.
How was Our Idiot Brother?
It was pretty good. Paul Rudd is such a likable character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like a great movie by any means, but he's so much fun to watch, and the story actually got kind of cool at the end. But there's a lot that led up to it. But I enjoyed it. It's not one I would ever want to buy, but it's definitely worth a Redbox rental if you have the time. I like Paul Rudd so much. He's a lot of fun.
Brian, Justin, you guys want to add anything before we move on?
I watched The Help and found it to be okay at 2 hours and 25 minutes, though it was excessively long. I think they could have easily trimmed half an hour, 45 minutes out of it, made it a tighter film. It quite often went to sap when I don't think it needed to. Mm-hmm. But all in all, I enjoyed it. I also watched Kung Fu Panda 2. I enjoyed it. I didn't like it as much as the first one, but if you hate Jack Black, I'm sorry. I'm not a huge fan of his, but him as Po in these Kung Fu Panda movies, I find it so watchable, so easy to love, and really enjoyed watching that. I did want to mention, though, that I watched the finale for Terra Nova.
Yeah.
It ended strong.
My question on that show, I saw it was a season finale, so I know they're still in talks to renew it. They haven't decided yet.
Right.
But why is the season already over? I mean, did they just
Well, dude,
play?
it started 3 months ago.
Well, I know, but usually the season on a network television show ends in May. So why are they running it like Lost, where all the episodes run concurrently and then it just ended?
It went pretty nonstop. I don't know exactly how many episodes were in this season. It's a very uneven season, and there's a lot of time spent on some shit that I really hope they address if they do get a second season. The kids need to fucking either get a lot more interesting or they need to go. But the adult storyline, I did find compelling. I think Stephen Lang does a fantastic job. I don't know what the name of the actor is who plays the lead role, but he does a really good job. And I loved where they left the season cliffhanger on, because it opens the door for so many new ideas to come in. It's a really what the fuck kind of moment, and I enjoyed it. It ended stronger than I thought that it would.
Nice.
And even if they do call it quits, even if they do not move forward with another season, which I hope they do, because I agree with you. I felt it did end pretty strong and everything, but it ended in a way that you could go, well, I hate that they didn't renew it, but I'm happy with that ending.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so it's a satisfying ending even if the series ends.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a new mystery introduced, but the current storyline was resolved enough that I think you could probably leave it feeling like, okay, I at least got some closure on some of this.
Fair enough.
Well, I finished Homeland and Boardwalk Empire, and they are both very, very good.
Obviously, because everything you watch gets nominated for shit. How was the finale for? Did you see the finale for Dexter? By the way,
no, I don't watch Dexter.
Okay, so Homeland, how was the finale? Now you've got a whole season. How did it end? Good.
Well, I'm not going to tell you how it ends.
Is he terrorist?
Yes.
I'll tell you what. No, I won't even tell you.
No, don't tell me. Don't ruin anything. Just was it as a whole? Does the series still, as you felt earlier, one of the strongest shows on the air?
If Game of Thrones hadn't wowed me so much, this would be my favorite series of the year.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
And I guess in a way you kind of put it up there with just a totally different subject than Game of Thrones, but Claire Danes is phenomenal. I've never disliked her. I've never been much of a fan of hers either, but she just kicks ass in this role, and it's not kicks ass like in a The Rock kind of way, but she just owns this role, and she is so believable as this bipolar CIA agent, and my God, she just kicks ass. I hope she wins the Golden Globe for Best Actress.
I would pay money to see her kick ass like The Rock. I'm just saying. That little waif just kicking ass, taking names.
That's interesting to me because most everything I've seen Claire Danes in, she's been kind of
meek,
yeah.
just kind of.
She's a really good actress, though. She really is.
But she is phenomenal in this. And this series is so well written. It does so many twists and it goes in so many different directions that I don't, kind of like 24.
Mm-hmm.
You think you got it going in one direction, and then bam, they turn left when you think it should have turned right. It's, there's not 24 episodes of it, but it's, but it does it kind of like that where it's not very predictable.
Gotcha. And how did Boardwalk Empire? What about that?
The season itself was pretty good. Mm-hmm. Steve Buscemi is, he's an ass. Let's just put it that way. He is a heartless motherfucker. But it ended really well. It was a kind of a shocker that you just didn't really see coming. But
okay.
Or maybe you kind of do see coming, but you don't want to believe if it's going to happen. So, but Fair enough. But he's really good in that series, Steve Buscemi. So
okay, well. That's what we've been watching. Let's move on to what the new DVD and Blu-ray releases are and what our purchase of the week would be. December 27th, they're bringing these titles to your home videos. Well, are there really stores anymore? I don't think there are. That's like pictures. They're done. Well, they're available at Amazon, BestBuy.com, Redbox, wherever else you get your movies. Final Destination 5, because there are so many unanswered questions from 1 through 4. Apollo 18, Hostel, Part 3. Didn't even know they made it. Jersey Shore, Season 4. What? And Archie, Season 2.
Archie?
Yeah.
Jughead.
Archer, sorry.
Jughead and Veronica.
Archer, Season 2. Out of those titles, what would be your purchase of the week, Justin? So dramatic.
I'll probably go, even though I've not seen it, Archer Season 2. The first season of Archer is so goddamn hysterical. I really look forward to seeing Season 2.
I really think Archie Season 2 would have been better. But Brian, what would your purchase of the week be?
Well, as much as I'd love to see a bunch of orange-painted douchebags fist pumping in their wife beaters in a nightclub, all, for about 12 hours, I'm going to go with Apollo 18. I've heard a lot of bad stuff about it, but I want to see it for myself. So,
I've heard a lot of bad shit about Jersey Shore. You want to see that for yourself too?
I don't trust in shit till I smelled it myself.
Scotty?
I'm in the same exact boat. Apollo 18 seems like a kind of movie that I would like, but I've heard bad things about it. But out of everything else, it's the only one that has any interest in me.
Is it a U-boat?
A U-boat?
It says they're in the exact same boat. Brian rides in a U-boat.
Oh.
It's a fact. I'm going to go with Apollo. That joke just died.
That was a joke?
That fell about 20 yards short of making sense.
that sank further than a U-boat.
Apollo 18, that's my choice. And fuck all of you. I will never pick Hostel because I didn't even like the first one. Why the fuck would I want to see part 3? And Jersey Shore, fuck those whores. Okay, Scott Clark, it is time for Flashback DVD. This is where we talk about a little known or obscure film that maybe you haven't heard of or you have heard of and didn't know what to think. Each week, one of our podcasters is going to recommend it in 2 minutes or less. So, Scott Clark, you got 2 minutes. Tell us your movie.
All right, my movie's from 2000, and it's one that you guys have probably seen, but it's a little lesser known, and I'm hoping the listeners haven't seen it. It's The Way of the Gun, which has got Ryan Felipe and Benicio del Toro, as well as Taye Diggs and James Caan. And it's a crime movie. It's a little bit of a dark comedy movie mixed into it. It follows the two primary characters, Ryan Felipe and Benicio del Toro, as they kidnap a pregnant woman who is a surrogate mother for a rich family. They think they're going to get a nice ransom. And it basically, it just develops into a big hot mess, basically. But there's some really cool action scenes. There's some very non-traditional moments in the movie that are kind of unexpected, that are really liked, a la, like, remember how Kiss Kiss Bang Bang had a lot of those moments that just went the opposite direction than you think they're going to go. There's a lot of that in this. I thought the acting was really good. It was one that I liked back in 2000, and I would highly recommend it. Especially with a cast. For as big as the cast is, it wasn't that well known. I was kind of one that kind of flew under the radar, so I would highly recommend giving it a rental. It's available on Netflix, both for rental as well as instant stream, so you can get it pretty easily.
And if for anything, for one of the best opening scenes in history.
Oh God, the opening scene is great.
Fuck start her head. Oh God,
I've never actually seen this one,
dude. Just cue it up and watch the first 5 minutes. You get to see Sarah Silverman and Ryan Felipe say, "Shut that cunt up, or I'm gonna fuck start her head." I love the fucking line.
Yeah, I can just rewind that 50 times. And
I did.
What happens after that is hysterical.
Yeah.
And
now, is it Felipe or Felipe? I've heard both.
Depends on if I say it or everybody else says it.
Right. How would you say it, Aaron?
Felipe.
He would say Felipe and then throw his hand up in the air.
Exactly. I just did. Felipe and Benicio del Toro.
Oh, God.
Yeah, exactly.
Juliette Lewis is in it, too. I'm not a huge fan of hers, but
I'm not even a little fan of her.
Her demeanor, or she fit the role in this one a little bit, because she's supposed to be kind of annoying.
Kind of a psycho bitch?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not natural born killer kind of thing, but like, I don't know. You'll see when you see the movie. She's she's a knocked up chick, very, very pregnant, and kind of a mess. She's basically giving her baby up to somebody for money. So, I mean, it's...
Well,
too bad you didn't think about that, did you, Aaron?
Yeah. Touche. Hey, baby, you're pregnant. Let's have a talk at the top of these stairs. Yeah. Okay.
But I will say, one of the things I love about that movie, though, is the it's got one of the most original and one of my favorite all-time car chase scenes. Or it's not, well, I guess there's one car involved, really, but
So it's a car scene.
Chasing the two guys. And, you know, where they stop the car and they have the little shootout and get back in and
check it out. It's a great little cult flick, and obviously it's a good recommendation because we recommended it at the Hollywood Outsider. Scott Clark, thanks for that. Way of the Gun. Okay.
Maybe start putting that on DVD cases. This is a Hollywood Outsider recommendation.
They should. I think it would sell more. Like,
watch this hoe.
The three
recommended by Hose.
Watch this hoe. Okay, this week on From the Outside In, every week we talk about a little thing that's on ours or our listeners' minds. This week, I knew we were going to have a little bit longer show, so I picked a kind of a shorter topic. And that's award season. It's award season. Every year, you know, you get all these goddamn fucking award shows, and I know Justin's not a fan. Brian, I don't think you care. Scott, you kind of don't care.
I watch it.
Do you watch it? Okay.
Yeah.
I love award shows, but I only really like Golden Globes, SAG Awards, and the Oscars. Mostly because those are the legitimate ones. But what I want to talk about this week is, you know, they did add a category for animated films, right? But for the most part, what the Oscars, and I'm speaking specifically to Oscars, okay, just to make it easier for us, they're basically what's seen as the elite competition, so to speak, right? The elite award show where the artists are awarded for their fantastic work. But every year they focus solely on the elite artist pictures that are just dramatic fare or very artistic fare, in their terms artistic. And I think some of that is very snobbery. I mean, it's almost like sliding what's popular, but also artistic. Just look at the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I mean, it took 3 movies before one got an Oscar for Best Picture. And the acting was very rarely, I think only Gandalf was nominated at any point. So, I mean, popular films really don't get a fair shake, I think. And some categories that I think we would like to see as film lovers are what I kind of want to talk about. So what do you guys think? And what category would you like to see? If you had to pick like one or two, what would you like to see the most?
Comedies.
Comedies. Good call.
Comedies?
Comedy. Being funny is one of the hardest things to do in entertainment.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that, yeah.
And to make 200 people in a theater laugh is a extremely difficult thing to do. And if you can do that for an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, then you've done something pretty special. You know, and it may not be so deep as bringing out some heartfelt emotions because somebody finally got reunited with somebody else or somebody's got Alzheimer's or whatever. But it is such a difficult thing to do because if you do it wrong, if you try to be funny and you end up doing it wrong, you end up on YouTube or something like that, and not for a good reason.
Yeah.
So,
and I agree. And kind of, if you look at it, I mean, Golden Globes does separate it, which I do give them credence for because that is a good thing that they separate those. But the fact that the best pictures every year, and even when they expanded it to 10 movies, it's still really dramatic fare. I mean, it's always like the guy that fucking has AIDS or is retarded or has a heroin problem or all those things at the same time, and his mama beats him. You know, that's always what gets nominated. It's never, like you said, comedies or very rarely fantasy films. Never comedies. I mean, I can't remember the last time a comedy. Juno is probably the last one I would even come close to saying is a comedy that was nominated. What other ones? Scott, what's your idea?
Well, I know you've mentioned it on previous shows, stuntmen. There's another category for that, but but one for my own idea, I think there should be a category for kid actors. I mean, you had the gentleman on the show,
Chambers Stevens.
Yeah, Chambers Stevens that kind of has his own award, but I don't know whether or not recognized or in the bigger awards like the SAG Awards and the Oscars. We had last year the girl from True Grit that was nominated.
Yeah, she was nominated.
I was pulling for her just because I wanted to see a kid win it. I mean, I think that I think a lot of kids get glossed over because they're kids, and I'd like to see. I think having an award like that could really springboard some of those kids' careers into acting a little bit better. I'd like to see that.
What about you, Justin McCumber?
Well, I can feel a bit of sympathy when it comes to the Academy Awards, and at what point, how do you start breaking things down genre-wise before you start falling into trouble? I mean, comedy is a fairly easy one because most films that are, a quote-unquote comedy are self-apparent.
Mm-hmm.
But, do you break off another one for best action film?
Mm-hmm.
And then you start getting these people who are like, well, that's not an action movie, that's a thriller, and they're different, but, are how many gunshots do you need before it becomes from one to the other? And, do you want to break it down into science fiction? Well, there's science fiction, but then there's sci-fi that are dramas as well. I mean, Solaris,
yeah. George Clooney.
Solaris is a drama with a sci-fi setting. And so breaking things down too fine, you start splitting hairs that can cause more problems than they're solving. I do think comedies should be broken off into their own. I'm glad animated movies are broken off into their own. But I don't know what it would take to start getting films other than I Am Sam type films to get nominated for an Academy Award without breaking it off into different categories. I mean, not that Fast Five should get Best Picture, but there are definitely some awards that thing should be up for, especially, as Scott mentioned, stunt work. I mean, that thing is full of some hellacious stunts that they pulled off to get that movie done. So, who knows? But genre films have always been the redheaded stepchild of Hollywood. Usually genre movies, and by genre I mean sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, those are usually their biggest money makers. Yet, they seem to get the least amount of respect when it comes to the awards seasons. Spider-Man can make up $10 million, but God forbids it should get an Academy Award for something other than special effects or something like that.
Do you think part of that kind of goes back to what you guys brought up earlier about once you're in the business, it's like you get this elitist snobbery about movies and stuff, and that anything that's popular with the masses, like Fast Five or something like that, it's just kind of discounted as being, well, it's sophomoric, or it's dumb. It's just a dumb movie.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of genre elitism, but it's not just movies. I mean, literature, it's the same way. You look at the New York Times bestsellers. A lot of those are going to be genre books. I mean, not overwhelmingly so, but there are quite a few fantasy and sci-fi and horror-ish novels that fall into it, but they never get, the big awards. You always have to look for the smaller awards to see genre fare really get their due, whether it's the Saturn Awards for, I think, television and film. They do sci-fi stuff. So I don't know. Should the Academy Awards embrace genre movies more? I think they should. And when Fellowship of the Ring lost its Best Picture to A Beautiful Mind, had I been in Hollywood, I probably would have set fire to a motherfucker's car. I felt like that was such an injustice that it lost to that piece of shit film. But apparently I was in the minority on that. But when it lost, everybody said they'll wait until the third one, and if Peter Jackson can maintain quality, then when they finish the trilogy, that's when you'll see it get the rewards or the awards. And sure enough, Return of the King came out, and I liked Return of the King, but I do think Fellowship was probably the best film of the three.
Yeah, I agree. And I wasn't specifically saying genres. I mean, I'm more focused on actual categories. I do think comedy should have its own category, but I also think that they need to include, like you were saying, more popular films and stop excluding them just because nobody fucks anybody in the ass or has a heroin problem, midway through the film. I mean, it's almost ridiculous to where you can have a really well done, fun, very popular movie that people love, but you don't think it's the best picture of the year because somebody's not smoking crack in a back alley at some point. I don't understand that. And then the thing that boggles my mind, and this is a personal thing that when I was thinking about this, is they continue every year to have new or recycled hosts, right? To try to boost ratings. Mm-hmm. That's what they're trying to do. That's the whole reason they do it, because they want more people to watch, to make more money from advertisers, they get rich. And they don't realize that, or they don't apparently pay attention, because I actually looked this up to make sure, but the popularity of the host really doesn't paint much of a picture in terms of what the ratings do. It's the quality of the films. If you go look at the year Dark Knight was nominated, because they had that 10-picture thing, or not Dark. What's Dark Knight? Or it was Return of the King is one I looked at. Return of the King, when they got nominated, they won Best Picture. And Titanic, those are two of the highest rated Oscars in the last 15, 20 years. And the reason for that is they're popular fucking movies. People went and saw them, so they care if they win. Nobody cares if Halle Berry and Monsters Ball, win the Oscar. Nobody gives a shit.
Halle Berry cares, and that's about it.
Yeah, Halle Berry cares, and she'll tell everybody she cares.
And Denzel Washington.
Yeah, and Denzel.
But that's why I don't watch these shows often, is I don't feel like I've got a dog in the fight.
Well, I mean, I do, because I do like some very artistic films, and whoever gets nominated, I will make it a point to see those films. I mean, because there's really, anymore, there's way too many movies to see all of them. But if they get nominated, I will make it a point to see them, because it's just how I am, how I was raised. I was very much, the Oscars are big in my house. They always have been. So I will definitely do that. And we'll probably even have a podcast on the Oscars and make our picks and everything else. And I hope Justin will still, you can mock him if you want, if you don't really want to partake. But that kind of stuff is big to me personally. But I do think I'm tired of seeing fantasy films kicked to the curb. I'm tired of, or I guess that whole genre, because I would include like horror and sci-fi and make it all in one category. Maybe you make best genre. I don't care. Best comedy should definitely happen. But if you can separate animated, why can't you separate that? Why can't you make something along those lines, or where the public decides that choice? Like a People's Choice Award. Just put it there in the middle. You got all these other fucking awards that don't mean shit.
Let everybody dial in like American Idol style and vote for their favorite one.
Yeah, however you do it. There's got to be a way to do it. But the stuntman, that's something that should absolutely be done. Because I can't tell you, and Justin, I think you brought it up first, was the stuntman issue. And that really got me thinking, because every year, and I've been watching the Oscars since I can remember, literally. I think I was in diapers watching this shit. You hear every year about at least 1 or 2, 3 performances that were so deep and so daring, and they risked everything to get to the truth of this character. Am I wrong? I mean, every fucking year. And meanwhile, some guy that's making like $60,000 a year just risked his life to flip a fucking car, 400 feet. So you could go, cool. And
that motherfucker risked everything.
Yes. That was a daring turn of events. This actor didn't do shit. I mean, yeah, that's cool. He created that aura, that he is that person. Great. Go find me a crackhead. He could act like he's a crackhead too. Go find me how many people can flip this car around and still fucking live. That deserves something. It deserves recognition that, you know what? You're the best in this business. Kudos to you, sir.
I agree, 100%.
So, anything else from anybody?
No, I'm good.
Crickets. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it for our show. I want to thank everybody for being here. I think it was a great episode. Glad you're back, Justin. We missed you.
I missed you guys.
Oh, that's so sweet. Although you have broken the chain, and now it is officially only Brian and I that have not missed an episode. Just saying.
Well, I missed a couple in the early part because I wasn't.
Yeah, but we don't count that. That wasn't fair. You haven't missed one since we.
Some imposter had my chair.
You haven't missed one since we formed the Final Four. How's that?
Final Four.
The Final Four. The Final 3.5, because Scott has school a lot.
I won't have school anymore. So.
You dropped out?
No, I mean I won't have school on Wednesday.
You made good grades.
Gotcha. Well, good for you, man. Congratulations. Yeah. Shit.
3
All right.
days.
So somebody come up with a reason why we only need 3. Brian. So basically, what's going to happen is at some point,
because we're a trilogy.
Exactly. At some point, I'm going to send you some kind of poison through the mail, so I win.
Wait,
as undefeated.
Trilogy. So am I like the Alien Resurrection to your guys' Alien Trilogy? Is that what you're saying?
No, you're like the Fourth Stooge. You're the fourth stooge. Yeah. Unnecessary.
Ah, God. Stooges, don't even bring that shit up.
Jeez, don't get angry on that.
Well, you can always find us at thehollywoodoutsiders.com if you want to watch any old episodes. Or I guess you can't watch them, but you can listen to them because it's radio. You can also listen to Justin's sultry voice on Dead Robot Society. That's his weekly podcast on writing. You can listen to Scott Clark on his weekly podcasting on gaming. That's the official Thread podcast. You can listen to Brian at any Southern Fried Chicken establishment. Or
extra crispy, bitch.
Or
I like mine original.
What is your Twitter? You're always trying to get more Twitter followers.
BRIANWMS.
One word?
At Twitter. Yep, all one word.
Okay. So he wants more followers. Can you please oblige him? That would be fantastic. Make sure you, every week, try to stay through the credits. Sometimes we have, or every week so far, we've had outtakes. We'll have one or two, at least throughout the song at the end. Be sure to listen to that. You can find more information on trailers and previous episodes at thehollywoodoutsiders.com, which I already mentioned. Or you can find us on Facebook.com/The Hollywood Outsider. You can email us questions, concerns, Stump the Ho question. You want to throw a little flashback in there, go to feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Make sure to tell your friends, subscribe on iTunes, Zune, Google Reader, listen on your Stitcher radio app. Give us a thumbs up if you do, or just any old RSS feed. Also, we are on Twitter at H_outsider. So from the Hollywood Outsider, this is your host, Aaron Peterson, saying goodbye. And remember, the next time you are at a theater, buy popcorn.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
Oh, yeah. What?
Decision for me letting you go. No time to visit, I just wanna go home. You're unable to understand that I'm doing the best I can, and all I know is all I'd rather be home. I'd rather be home. I'd rather be
Plus,
you need
Brian,
some yucks.
Yeah, and Brian wasn't on his game last week. I think he wasn't.
Brian was quiet.
Yeah. See?
It's kind of
nice.
What? Boom!
Yeah. There it goes. He wasn't even paying attention. That's probably what the problem was. He's fucking napping.
What?
Stop watching Walker, Texas Ranger and pay attention to the podcast. Okay, well then we'll do those two, and we'll do Mission Impossible next week. I think pretty much all of us are going to go see it. So.
I got my tickets already paid for Christmas Day.
Nice. Well then we'll talk about that'd be nice. That's why Scott was going to go see it. I don't know. Did you end up seeing it?
No, I was going to for tonight, but
I asked him to hold off because I'd rather we could all talk about it. And I don't want to be talking about the same movie like 3 weeks in a row. So.
What, should I let Scott in on the cruel joke that you won't be inviting him back for the next podcast? And just made him wait for no reason.
That would be awesome.
Michigan J Frog.
There you go.
There we go.
Michigan J Frog.
Hello, my baby.
Hello, my darling. Hello,
my ragtime gal.
There you go. Wow.
Give me a kiss by wire, baby. My
Should I
heart's
sing
on
Journey
fire.
instead? Good job with the Child's Play stuff.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
You always do. Good job.
How much did you get total?
Oh, money-wise or?
Back up.
Money-wise or?
Yes.
The exact figure is in the 700s. I don't remember the exact amount, but we had enough to get a Xbox 360 with Kinect, a Wii with Super Mario Wii, an extra copy of Mario Wii, and a copy of NB 2K11.
Okay.
Do you think that Kinect is just going to be sitting there taunting those children that are, say, paraplegic, quadriplegic?
Oh, Jesus.
I almost spit on my computer.
Well,
I can't play. I gotta roll over and let him check
I can't
out my
stand
wheelchair.
up.
I have bed sores.
Do you have a special,
Why you would do this?
adapter? Do you have a special adapter for that little mouth control thing for the people confined to a wheelchair?
Maybe the people who come around and clean out their bedpans when they're done, they'll swing by and further taunt the children by playing some dance game that they'll never
Just stick some marionette strings in them for Christmas.
It's just like taunting the kids.
play them like a weekend at Bernie's, just kind of.
Oh, that's just wrong.
Flop them around.
For me letting you go, no time to visit, I just wanna go home. You're never to understand that I'm doing the best I can, and all I know is all I'd rather be.